Happy Saturday. We are back with another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors, and I'm thrilled you guys are joining me today again. It has been a fabulous Saturday morning, afternoon actually, with amazing authors. If you're new to the podcast, go ahead and subscribe. You don't want to miss a single episode. We're here live now on Saturdays and also on the recording with passionate authors bringing you exciting new books, so you do not want to miss it. And because you guys are here to really listen to who our new author is, let's bring him on. Hello, Mr. Dwayne. How are you today?
I am well, thank you.
It is such a pleasure meeting you and having you on the podcast. We are excited. And because we're here to know all about your book, The Theories of Everything, I'm turning it over to you. All yours for the reading.
I'll read from a short story. This is a collection of short stories. I'll read from a short story called The Sewing Machine. Mama sewed late into the night when us kids were in bed. We could hear the clatter of the Singer sewing machine through the hot air grate in the floor. Papa would be asleep by then, deaf to the soft rumble of the machine, to the rhythmic back and forth of her foot upon the treadle. With nimble fingers, Mama threaded the bobbin. I saw her do it many times in daylight, and loaded the spool on the machine. Quietly in the night, she edged calico under the foot press, turned the balance wheel ever so slightly, until it matched the motion of the treadle, and she was off in a rapture of creation. She didn't work from a pattern. She couldn't afford it. There was only the cloth and the bold machine and a kernel of imagination. The howling wind that gnawed at the cracked siding on the house, that searched out chinks in the window casings, blew itself out and limped away as Mama sewed. She sewed any piece of cloth that would hold together. She sewed underwear out of buckeye flour sacks and dresses out of old shirts. She made blouses out of burlap and trousers out of discarded corduroy. She patched the canvases for Papa's binder with old horse blankets. She sewed my first Sunday school dress out of an ancient bolt of cotton she'd found in a garbage bin behind the church. Some of her handiwork she sold to neighbors. Sometimes she sang a song about a girl named Pearl as she sewed. Us kids didn't know how bad we had it in 1936. There was always food on the table. We wore hand-me-down clothes, but so did every other kid in the district. I was 13 and tall for my age. I took after Mama. So I heard more of what my parents said to each other than my little sister Edna or my brother Roy did. I remember one night especially when Papa and Mama sat at the kitchen table late into the evening. They were mostly in the dark because I had commandeered the coal oil lamp to read by. Papa's voice was pained and thin. "What are we going to do?" I heard him say. "Don't worry," Mama said. "Things will get better next year. We got no money. We still have the home quarter. They can't take that away from us." "I'm sorry, darling," Papa said. "I guess I ain't much of a farmer." The next day I watched as Papa took down the barbed wire fence on the quarter that he had bought at auction from our neighbor, Mr. McWilliams, 10 years earlier. He was prying the fence posts out of the parched ground and loading them on a rack behind old Babe. He carted the posts and wire back to the home quarter and started building a fence there. He told me sometime later that I couldn't go out to the McWilliam place and pick berries anymore. "It doesn't belong to us now," he said. Mama didn't have many friends because we lived so far out of town. She especially lacked another woman, someone her own age, in whom she could confide. She sometimes talked to me about her own childhood, how she'd grown up in Colorado, and how her own mama died when she was just a little older than me. She told me stories about how brave her mama was when the pain got unbearable and no surgery would help. "It's surprising what you can put up with," Mama said. "We're all capable of a little heroism, the right time and the right place." Annie Huffnagel had been my mama's one true friend, but she lived 2 miles away with her own husband and a family in a tar paper shack. When Annie and her family finally pulled up stakes and were going to leave, just walk away from the house and the barn and the land, Mama sensed her world getting that much smaller. She got Papa to hitch Babe to the buggy. She drove with me to see Annie off. Annie's face was hard as an early frost, like she was refusing to allow the happy memories to creep back in. "We're going to BC," she said, her eyes like gray stones. "Maybe we'll see each other again." "Oh, Annie," Mama said, "I'll miss you so much." They hugged for a long time out there beside the Huffnagel's hay rack, which was piled high with beds and chairs and a table. Words couldn't tell how much Mama would miss Annie. It was the middle of summer with no rain when Mama loaded us kids in the buggy and drove into town. Outside Burlington's store, she told us to mind our P's and Q's. "Mr. Burlington doesn't want children running around his store like a bunch of jackanapes," she said. She knew her little chastisement would be useless, and it was. Inside the store, Edna fell in love with a doll that stood on a high shelf. Roy had his hand in the apple barrel almost as soon as we were inside. Mama had told me to look after the kids, but I was mooning over a white dress with blue polka dots that was hanging at the far end of the store. Lucky for us, the store was almost empty because it was so early in the day. Mama gathered up some cornstarch and some coffee, a sack of flour, and a bag of sugar, and placed them on the counter. Under the watchful eye of Mr. Burlington, she found a few spools of thread and rummaged around in the bolts of material that were hanging on wooden dowling in the dry goods section. Greedily, she touched the expensive wool and gabardines, but she passed them by for the cheaper cottons. She observed the packages of sewing patterns nearby, which displayed the height of fashion in New York and Paris. There would be no market for kitchenette pajamas or leading lady gowns or beach romper bathing suits in Saskatchewan. She knew that. But matinee blouses, stardust skirts, capalettes, and salon trousers she could sell as soon as she could afford the material. She memorized the drawings on the front of the packages. I was standing in front of a mirror with a polka dot dress draped over my slender torso when Mama appeared at my side. "Oh, Mama," I said, "see how pretty it is? Do you think I could have it?" She smiled at me in the mirror. "One day," she said. "If we wait until next year, it won't fit anymore." "You really like this dress?" "Oh, yes, Mama, I love it." The dress had raglan sleeves and découpe neckline. She thought for a moment. "Well," she said at last, "bring it along." We went back to the fabrics. Mama picked out a serviceable cotton, cheapest on the rack, white with blue polka dots. Then we headed to the counter where Mr. Burlington stood, quite dapper and smart. Mama showed the dress to Mr. Burlington. "What's the return policy on this?" she asked. 30 days on all dry goods," said Mr. Burlington. He calculated the price on a big brass cash register, all the while making small talk with Mama about the farm and the weather. "That'll be $17.65, he said at last. Mama didn't look him in the eyes. "We were hoping," she explained, "that you might extend our line of credit until the harvest is done." Mr. Burlington looked troubled. "I would like to help," he said, "but I cannot keep carrying everybody's debt. It's been 6 months and I haven't seen any payments on the sewing machine or the gramophone or the beds." "We'll pay as soon as we can." Mr. Burlington leaned over the counter and looked Mama in the eyes. "I've heard that before. Surely we're not the only family asking you for credit." I leaned up against the counter beside Mama, and Mr. Burlington looked sheepish when he saw me. "No," he said, "you're not the only ones." "Just until harvest is done," Mama pleaded. There was a long pause. All right, until the harvest is done, Mr. Burlington said. But that will have to be the end of it. Mama sewed through the contrary nights, fashioning shirts out of old blankets as the lanterns sputtered around her. The beloved singer hummed and clattered as the wind blew outside, as a fine layer of dust settled on the window sills and countertops. She sewed until she was unable to thread the needle, with dust in her mouth and in her eyes, dust settling on the wooden floorboards like a swarm of termites. She sewed until all thought deserted her. She wouldn't let me wear the dress, not once, except to try it on for size. She left it on a hanger on a nail on the plastered wall, measuring it with her milliner's tape and then cutting panels from the bolt of cotton she had purchased. She fussed over the raglan sleeves, altered them endlessly. One bright morning before breakfast, there were two white cotton dresses with blue polka dots on hangers on the wall. Mama asked me if I could tell the store-bought dress from the homemade one. I couldn't. Well, she said, we'll have to figure it out, because one of these dresses has to go back to Burlington's store. The weather turned hot a few weeks later. Thunderclouds gathered in the east, dark mansions in the sky, but there was still no rain. The winds raged through the nights, cracked their cheeks against the broken window panes, caused the coal oil lamps inside to flicker and wane. By September, the crop of wheat stood burnt in the field, too spindly even to be used as cattle feed. Papa spent hours listening to his records on the gramophone in the living room. I wondered if he was not feeling well. Mama made up for his listlessness, scurrying around the house, making meals, getting us ready for school. I didn't know how poor we were. I went to school in my polka dot dress, proud as a peacock at what Mama had made for me. It was a cloudless day in December when the debt collector first appeared. From the kitchen window, I could see him coming a mile away. A plume of dust rose behind his black car. It was the first time in a long while that I'd seen a working automobile. When the debt collector climbed out of his car, I could see that he was a big man. He was wearing a handsome gray woolen overcoat. Before he donned his fedora, I could see that his hair was clipped and pomaded close to his skull. There was no snow on the ground, but it was cold, and the man's breath seemed to freeze in front of him, like he was breathing more air than he had a right to. Mama told me to go upstairs, but I was too curious. I went and sat quietly in the living room instead. Mama met him at the door. "Is the man of the house in?" I heard him ask. "He's tending to the cattle." "May I come in?" His voice was a subdued snarl. "Yes." From my perch in the rocking chair, I could see the man looking around, almost as though he expected to see a rifle leveled at him from the living room. He saw me sitting there, but he didn't hold my gaze. When they were settled at the kitchen table, the debt collector produced a piece of paper from his valise. "This is a notice of seizure," he said. "What does that mean?" Mama asked. Her voice was quaking. The debt collector looked at her hard. "It means that unless you pay your debts within 30 days, I'll be back here to seize your sewing machine, your gramophone, and your beds." "Did Mr. Burlington send you?" The debt collector nodded. "And this is a list of items gotten at the general store in town that have not been paid for." He handed the list to Mama. "We're going to pay the money back." "You'd better get busy then," the man said. "Time is running out." When the debt collector took his leave and was on his way to the car, I ran to the window to see him go. Papa was coming out of the barn just as the man got in his car, but Papa didn't stop to say hello or anything. He just marched right by the man. He must have known who the man was. By the time Papa was inside the house and had taken off his coat and dirty boots, Mama was sitting at the kitchen table, looking at the notice of seizure. "What do they want?" Papa asked dully. "The beds and the gramophone," she said. "The land?" "They can't take the land. It's our home quarter." "Anything else?" "They also want the sewing machine." think I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Awesome reading. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Dwayne, I have questions, so we're going to get started right away because it's an incredible collection. I need to know, where did the ideas come from? Where did you decide to pull from? And how did it all come together? So tell us.
Well, it's a rather eclectic collection of short stories, more a collection than a themed book of any kind. There's no one theme that runs through it. Some of the narrators are women, as you can tell in this story. Some are men. Some of the stories are set in the USA. Some are set in Canada. Some are set in Libya. Some in England. One in Mexico, in fact. And so it's the book is rather eclectic. This particular story was a story that has long been told in my family, and it's in fact based on a true story. My grandmother, at one time, she was quite a formidable woman. At one time, she faced down a debt collector, a repo man. This was during the Great Depression of the 1930s, and challenged him to a fist fight. And the man left without taking the sewing machine, which was her prized possession. The sewing machine is still in my family. It's still one of my sisters has it now.
Is it still working?
So it's still working. Oh yeah, it's an old Singer, so you know how they lasted forever.
Yeah, it's still working.
Yeah, I mean, other stories are not biographical in any way. There are stories about aging rock stars. There's a story about a guy who runs a tour, a Hollywood tour of the stars' houses in the book. There's the one nod to horror in the book, which is a story told by a murderous parrot who is unhappy that her landlady is going to send her to a parrot refuge. And this parrot watches way too many movies, so she constantly quotes Joan Crawford whenever she's about to get angry.
I like.
So yeah, the stories, like I say, are they're eclectic. They were written over a 10-year period.
Okay.
Initially, the collection was sold to a publisher called Coteau Books here in Canada, and I was awaiting publication, but Coteau Books went bankrupt before they were able to publish the book. So thankfully, about 5 years later, Ed Willett at Shadowpaw Press rode to the rescue and offered me a contract for the book, and that's why it's appeared here and now, and maybe 5 years later than I thought it was going to appear, but I'm nevertheless quite happy to have it.
It is an awesome collection. I like the fact that it's very eclectic. You're pulling from many different things. How did you decide to do a collection of short stories? Or did you already have these short stories around and thought, I need to do something with them? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, yeah, I worked on them, over a period of time, and some were written. I was at Hambidge Artists Colony in North Georgia a few years ago, and some of them were written there, looking out at the Appalachian Mountains from my cabin at the Artists Colony. Some were written, most of them, in fact, were written at a coffee shop here in Saskatchewan. That coffee shop has since gone bankrupt itself, defunct. I blame myself. I spent many hours in there drinking coffee and getting free refills and writing short stories. And I just, I wrote about whatever interested me. So that's the reason for their eclecticism, I guess. That's how I began writing these stories.
I like it. You also have written other books. You have novels out there. Is the process for writing a short story very different than a novel for you, or do you have similar things that kind of transcends each kind of format? How does that work?
Well, it's quite a different genre to work in. I mean, the novel is a long slog. Anytime I've written a novel, and I've got a new one coming out with Shadow Pop Press next February. It's a kind of a murder mystery thriller historical novel called The Laundryman. But it was a long slog to write, 85,000 words, and it took me a couple of years. Whereas a short story, you can, especially if you're feeling inspired, you can write one in a week, and you can certainly write the draft of one in a week or less. And I've always enjoyed that about it. I've enjoyed the poetic qualities of short stories,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it's written in a kind of a shorthand that you can't, that you have to draw your characters with broad strokes. You don't have, luxury to, spend 3 pages describing, your mother or your grandmother in this case. You have to get it across as best you can in the dialogue. But there are, of course, many similarities too. I mean, the whole business of creating character is the same from short story to novel. The difference is there are generally fewer characters in a short story, and generally it's just two characters who are at odds about something. In this case, a debt collector and an aging grandmother, and at odds about their values and so forth. So I like that about the short story as well. That you can sort of focus on these. That's generally the way I start with a short story. You can generally focus on these two characters and see where it goes, basically.
I love it. So tell us, you mentioned it, you hinted, and then you just kind of went away. New book coming up that you're working on. Can you tell us about it, or is this a secret? What is coming up for you? What are you working on?
No, happy to tell you about it. It's a book called The Laundryman. It's set in the winter of 1883, 1884 in a place called Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, which was at that time touted to be the next provincial capital up here in Canada. But the story begins with two mounted policemen riding toward Prince Albert settlement in October. And they encounter a huge snowstorm and have to ride through it. The novel is narrated by a police surgeon, a young man from Vermont who has joined the mounted police and is working as a surgeon for the constabulary, and a more embattled older sergeant who is a rough and tumble policeman. So they are my pair of detectives who have been sent to Prince Albert to solve the murder of a laundryman, of a local laundryman. So that's where the story takes off from. Don't want to tell you too much about it. It's set in winter, so this novel is full of snow and ice, and the cold. And there's plenty of that up here in Canada. So
Yes.
generally from December to April, we are covered with snow here. So I wanted to celebrate that a little bit and write about it.
My heart goes out to you. I don't do the snow, the shoveling, so Texas, which is burning. It's all good. I love the promise. I love that you're working on this book and creating and bringing people to Canada and to kind of that essence of the snow as an element of the book. Sometimes I think we take for granted. So I absolutely love it. So tell me, Mr.
Yeah,
Dwayne.
so
Yes.
few, so few novels written even in Canada are set in snow, and so it's rather nice to. I don't say there's none. There are some, but generally people want to set their novels in the summer because the summers are quite nice up here, and right
Yes.
now it's about 25 degrees and sunny, and so summers are good, and people like to write about summers as a result. I don't know that they like to write about winters so much, but we
Well,
do spend a lot of time up here in it.
and nobody wants to write about, negative numbers that's just going to freeze you to death. But I am excited to hear more about it. I'm not a winter kind of girl, so I was like, ooh, that just sounds painful, that alone. So tell Mr. Dwayne, what advice would you give an up and coming author who's interested in writing? Like, what would you tell them?
Oh, I would tell them to sit down and write. That's the way I started. I just began writing, and I mean, a lot of the early stuff that I wrote was bad, was crap. But you have to get through that to write the good stuff. And so definitely, I would ask them to sit down and write. I would, tell them to cultivate some publisher friends if they have any, and work that way. I'd also tell them to go to workshops and take. I did a couple of degrees in English literature, and so I learned a bit about writing there. Not as much as I would have liked to, but actually, my very first creative writing class was in my undergraduate years here at the University of Saskatchewan. I was taught by a professor named H.B. Weeks, who used to publish in True Confessions magazine all the time.
Oh, wow.
He was fond of saying that he had been pregnant and unwed on 7 different occasions, and always at $75 a story.
Okay.
So apparently, back in the day when you signed the contract with True Confessions, you had to sign a contract that said that this had happened to you, or to somebody you knew, or to somebody in the world. Uh, so it was fairly open what you could write for True Confessions at the time.
As long as somebody had that happening. So yes, comment in the chat was, weather as a character. You're adding weather to these books, and if the weathers have enough of an inclement, impact, it becomes a character itself. So something to think about. Mr. Dwayne, we
It
need to
does.
know, where can our viewers or listeners find you? Where they can learn more about the book? Where are you located? Tell us.
Well, I have a website. It's just dwaynebrenna.com. So I'm located there. You can also be in touch with any of my publishers. Shadowpaw Press is the press that published this particular book. Or you could send me an email, which is my email address is right there on my website. So you can find me in all of those ways.
I love it. Many ways to find you, many ways to connect, which is absolutely fabulous. It's always so much fun to talk to authors, and especially listen to your story and how you put this all together. But before you leave us, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, I don't know if I am, but let's start anyway.
All right, easy peasy. Do not think too hard about these. Cold drinks or hot?
Oh, cold at this time of year. My
Okay.
wife's lemonade. My wife makes a lemonade that was her grandmother's recipe, and it is
Ooh,
just wonderful. The secret apparently is to put squeeze some orange into your lemonade. Just beautiful,
I'm
just lovely. Yeah.
I'm pretty impressed. I need to hear more about that one. We're gonna have to come back eventually. Pancakes or waffles?
Oh, I'd say pancakes.
Okay. Are you an
I
early
like
bird
a I
or
like a pancake. I like a pancake that's drenched with maple syrup. We're big maple syrup fans up here in Canada.
I'm pretty impressed. I like it. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl, not an early bird at all.
I am jealous. I'm totally an early bird. Okay. Ebook or print?
Oh, I like print books best. I just enjoy sitting and reading them. So it's nice to take them off into a corner somewhere. And I don't know, maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I do like the printed page.
I do too. It has nothing to be an old fashioned. It's just so much more fun. So here's the last one, a little different. Let's see how you do. If your life had a warning label, what would it be?
Oh, I would say, it would be learn to plod. As a young man, I was not capable of plodding, and I remember when I was working on my master's thesis, my supervisor said, "You should learn how to plod like an old horse, plod along," and that that advice has served me well over the years, and certainly, like when you talk about writing novels,
Mm-hmm.
you must learn to plod. You must learn to put one foot in front of the other, and do this day after day. Uh, so yeah, learn to plod. That would be my warning label.
I like it. It's really good. Listen, Dwayne, it's been such a pleasure having you. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
Well, thank you, DC. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that you're publicizing not only other authors but me especially, and that publicity is very necessary, as you know, when you're trying to sell your books out there. So, thank you so much. It's been just a joy to talk to you.
It has been a true pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. To our viewers, go ahead, check out the website, check out this book. If you enjoy short stories, these are a very exciting and fun collection. And if you enjoy novel, Miss Dwayne also has books in there, so you don't want to miss out. So thank you for joining us. Remember, my
Thank
friends,
you.
if you enjoy the podcast, we'll be here next week. So we're doing a really fun change in our time frame in terms of the podcast. So we're going to be back next week with 3 amazing authors, so you don't want to miss out. So make sure to join. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and do it now. You don't want to miss a single episode. So we're excited to have you. Bye, my friends. Thank you.